everyone, it's Justine, and today we're going to talk about making your own sentiments for your front of your cards. Sometimes stamps just don't cut it, and you need to personalize your cards with people's names or inside jokes, or maybe you just don't have that sentiment that goes with your stamp. So I'm going to be showing you how you can create your own, and I'm going to be using them for foiling. A couple weeks ago, I had done a video using foil mates from Gina K that are pre-printed pieces of paper that you can buy, and then you can foil them. Now, this is an easy way to make your own. So I was given this font bundle kit from Font Bundles to use for this video, and I'll have a link to that below in the video description if you're interested at all. And what I absolutely love is that I can make these sentiments and these fonts, and they're so pretty, and what I really like is the cursive writing links up together. So it's not very often I find that I have fonts that are cursive that actually link properly from one letter to the other. And there's a really big variety of fonts in here that are just so pretty. So as you can see, I'm just going ahead with my tool. So you could use Word, you could use Photoshop, or you can use Pages like I am. And all I'm doing is I'm doing one line at a time inside a text box. And the reason why I'm doing one line at a time is so that I can push them up and down, and I can also make them into different sizes, and I can just have them pushed as close together as I need them to be. So I'm going to look through all my fonts here and just choose the ones that I like and play around until I'm happy. So again, you can mix up your fonts by using two different fonts. You can use multiple sizes. You can push things to the side. It's just really up to you. So I created in the end 4 quotes that I really like for cards that I need that are upcoming. I then group them all together and print them out. Now you have to print them using a laser printer, and if you don't have a laser printer like myself, I just took them to the copy shop and had them print them out for me. So you can see that I have some of my favorite little sentiments that I had created here, and I have them all onto a piece of paper printed out with a laser printer. Now that all my card fronts are cut out, I'm going to start the foiling. So I've grabbed different colors for each one. So I stick the foil color side up on top of the text, and then I'm going to stick it through some parchment paper and put it through my laminator. You don't need a fancy laminator or a fancy ink machine to do this. I just have one from Scotch that I got cheap off Amazon. Here's a piece of parchment paper. You also have to turn on the heat on the laminator. You can't cold laminate it. And you're going to put the foil, again, color side facing up on top of the text, and then stick it through your laminator. I did notice, in comparison to using the Gina K pre-printed foils, I had to run this through my laminator a couple of times before it worked. So I actually ran them through 3 times to make sure that they stuck well. I'm not really sure if that's a fault of the quality of the ink my copy shop was using, or if it has to do with the fact that with pre-printed stuff or stuff that you print yourself, you have to laminate it more often. But just send it through a couple of times just to ensure that it is really ready. After you finish sending it through one more time, you can peel off the foil. So after I peel off the foil, I get this really awesome foiled look with the pink on it, and you can see just how shiny that is when I hold it up against the light. It's super pretty and elegant, and I love the way that it turned out, and it's this perfect sentiment that I didn't have. All I have for Mother's Day sentiments are really Happy Mother's Day, so I'm really happy I got something a little bit more sentimental. I'll show you each of the font bundles as they come out of the laminator, and I'm just going to skip through this part because I don't want you to get too bored. I also wanted to state that when I was using the font bundle fonts, I did get a couple of fonts that printed a little bit thicker than they should have. So here's a nice graduation card, but you can see that some of the letters turned out thicker where there were thin lines. I took my pen blade and I simply just poked at the area and it slipped right off. So clearly it was just some residue from the printing. So it literally, I didn't have to go in and cut that out or anything. I just had to pull it back and the foil came right off. It was absolutely no problem. And this was the only font that I used out of all of the fonts that I tried where this happened. So I'm guessing it was just because of those super thin lines. I absolutely love the way that this foil turns out. It's super awesome and it's a sequin silver. Remember, I'll have all the links below, including the font bundle that I used. So now I'm all finished. I have this one here, which I did in the gold sequins, and then the silver sequins, and then I did the mom in the pink foils. And I did the 4th sentiment as well in some teal, but I didn't end up using this on a card because I didn't like the way that it turned out in the end. Now, in order to turn these into cards, I wanted to cut them down a little bit so I could make a fun background. So I cut all of these using stitched rectangles. I used a combination of My Favorite Things and Simon Says Stamp stitched rectangles. I have two different sets because I needed different sizes, and each set didn't accommodate all the exact sizes that I needed. So I did end up using two different ones. Now that all my custom sentiments are ready to go and they have that really pretty stitch around them, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp them using my background stamps. I'm going to use a variety of different background stamps in order to create some pretty pattern paper. You could always save some time as well and just use some pattern paper behind your sentiments, but I like to stamp most of my things and I don't own a lot of pattern paper, so I really wanted to use some of the stamps that I have on hand. Because I have a MISTI, I'm able to stamp more than once as well, just in case the stamping doesn't turn out as well as planned. So as you can see, I'm still getting a couple of pieces that are faded, so I just went in and then stamped it one more time. And then I can simply just add the sentiment on top of the patterned papers. So once I had that done, I just did two more stamps and I just cleaned off and dried off my MISTI before I continued on. And this one here I absolutely love. It's one of my favorites and it kind of reminds me of those Zentangles backgrounds, and I think it looked really pretty when it was all said and done with, and it was just a really fun background. And that worked out perfectly as well on the back of these cards. So here are the finished products. I just added them to a couple of card bases and they're all ready to go. You can embellish them as desired. And here's a final look at the cards. So I hope you enjoyed making your own sentiments, and you might consider doing that in the future to make yourself some personalized cards or to make up for some stamps that you don't have at home. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week for another one.